What is up, Star Wars fans? Welcome to the Star Wars Stop. In this video, we're going to count down my top 10 favorite scenes in all of Star Wars Rebels. Unfortunately, the series has come to an end, but the good news is we get to look back and reminisce. So obviously, big time spoilers ahead. Starting off at number 10, I choose the duel between Kanan and the Grand Inquisitor. What an epic duel. Unlike anything we've ever seen in Star Wars, you got one guy with two lightsabers, one lightsaber has a gun in it, the other guy's got a freaking helicopter lightsaber. What's not to like? The most important thing about this scene was seeing Kanan come into his own as a character. He stepped up to the plate to protect Ezra and became the Jedi that everybody needed him to become. Also, it was sad to see the Inquisitor go. It's always great when you have a villain so cool that it sucks to see them go. And they totally nailed it with the Grand Inquisitor. And also, the end of this scene when he preludes to the fact that Darth Vader is around, such an epic line. But getting into number 9 with a villain that definitely tops the Grand Inquisitor, Grand Admiral Thrawn. In this space battle of Atollon, he manages to absolutely demolish the rebels. He manages to outgun them, out-strategize them, and outsmart them at every turn. He has them trapped, and there's nothing they can do. And it was just something we were all waiting for, to see Thrawn come into his own as the, brilliant strategist and fleet commander that we know he is, and just to see him absolutely go ham on a rebel fleet. Obviously, it ends like any other, rebel space battle ever will. They collide one of their ships into the enemy ship and manage to save the day. If they're not colliding one of their ships into an enemy ship, they're colliding one of the enemy ships into another enemy ship. That's kind of how rebels win space battles. Getting into number 8 though. This is when Darth Vader single-handedly takes on Phoenix Squadron in his TIE Advanced X-1. We all know Anakin Skywalker was considered the best pilot in the galaxy, and it's awesome to see that Darth Vader has not lost his knack for piloting. The A-Wings are completely outmatched, nothing they can do to stop him, and then he goes on to take on the Corvettes and the frigate, and oh man, I mean, it's just so cool to think that this one starfighter can show up and absolutely, there's nothing that this rebel fleet can do to stop him. The other great thing about this scene was to see Ahsoka and Darth Vader finally realize that, hey, we're still out here. They realize the other person is out there and exists and is very much at large, and this just got me so ready to see the inevitable interaction between these two characters. Getting into number 7, this has got to be when Kanan duels Darth Maul. Kanan is blinded in this scene, and you think he's down and he's out, but as usual, Kanan rises to the occasion to protect those he cares about, and he manages to defeat Maul in a really epic lightsaber fight. Maul thought he had to fight Juan when he blinded him, but clearly not. Getting into number 6, this scene is when this is basically when Ezra and Darth Maul manage to merge the two holocrons, and that gives them the location of Obi-Wan. Why does this matter? Well, this confirmed that we were going to see an interaction between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan. That's why I love this scene. I remember seeing this and thinking, oh man, I am ready for whatever comes next, because how epic to finally see these two arch nemesis finally meet again. Getting into number 5, my number 5 spot has got to be the duel between, not duel, I shouldn't call that, the training session with Kanan and Sabine. So awesome. First of all, the Darksaber is really cool, but second of all, the character of Sabine is just shrouded in mystery up until this point, and we finally got to realize what her backstory was in this scene. And I think the Mandalorians in general are very mysterious, so it's cool to see their backstory. Also, obviously, Kanan being the bro that he is, kind of helping Sabine cope with her past and come to terms with it and move forward. Kanan is my favorite character in Rebels, for sure. It was so awesome to see that scene. Getting to number 4, though. This is when the space whales are called in, the cavalry. Ezra calls in the space whales to take down Thrawn's fleet, and, Thrawn is such an epic villain. I mean, he's probably one of the best, probably if not the best, one of the best villains in this show. I guess you can't really put anything on Darth Vader, but it's always awesome to see how our heroes managed to stop a villain that is as unstoppable as Grand Admiral Thrawn. And it leaves so much room for interpretation, so much open for whatever comes next, because We don't know where they ended up, and I'm very eager to see where they pick that story up and how they pick that story up. So that's really awesome. But getting into my number 3 spot, I choose the duel between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. Obviously, it's going to be very high up on the list. This was not received well by many people because of how slow-paced it was, and people were kind of expecting a more spectacular light show like we're used to with lightsaber duels. But I think the scene has a certain class and certain coolness to it, and just to see Darth Maul and Obi-Wan come face to face and have this discussion, and the epic line that Darth Maul has where he says he will avenge us, asking about, you know, the chosen one, referring to Luke, just because both these men have been done wrong by the same man, Palpatine, and he's taken everything from them. And to see that these two completely different characters actually have a lot in common. But getting into my number 2 spot, obviously I have to choose the duel between Ahsoka and Darth Vader. This is one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars ever, because, you know, I remember when Clone Wars started, a lot of people didn't like Ahsoka, but slowly, she became such an awesome character. She's a huge fan favorite now. Oh, and when we hear Anakin talking in his normal voice when the mask gets broken, oh man, it just sends shivers down your spine. What an incredible scene. Props to them for writing a character like Ahsoka and kind of giving us an amazing scene like this. She does end up surviving this pig's blood. Getting into my number 1 spot, my favorite scene in all of Star Wars Rebels, Kanan's sacrifice. So finally we get to see some love between Kanan and Hera, but unfortunately it is cut short when the Imperials show up and this crazy lady says, hey, let's fire at our own fuel supply. I just want to finally be rid of these rebels, this nuisance, this thorn that's been in my side. And Kanan manages to save his entire team, but he has to sacrifice himself. So I think it's just, first of all, again, I'll say Kanan's my favorite character in all of Star Wars Rebels, and that's saying something considering he's competing with characters like Ahsoka and Darth Maul. You know what I'm saying? But just to see him, you know, do the last thing that he was meant to do in his life in this scene, such an incredibly beautiful scene, and when his eyes shift, oh man, incredible. But I will say that yes, this is my favorite scene in all of Star Wars Rebels, and it was a hard list to make, so you guys let me know. Did I miss your favorite scene, your favorite moment in Star Wars Rebels? Let me know in the comments section. It was hard to narrow it down to 10, but I will definitively say these are my top 10 favorite scenes. But be sure to rate, like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned. Tons and tons of Star Wars content coming your way. Have an awesome day, guys.